Let the meltdown begin. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network. Let's do this thing. I am Gabriel Morency, and we're ready to roll. Reed Kuhn's going to step up and in. Fightnomics.com, the best numbers guy in the business. Unfortunately, Joey Odessa cannot join us this evening to crunch the gaming numbers, but we're going to hit the fight numbers with Reed Kuhn, Fightnomics.com. We got some wicked videos of the week this week, and of course, it's UFC 175. Chris Weidman and Lyoto Machida. I like Weidman to win this fight. There's a lot of movement as far as the line is concerned. Money coming in on the Dragon. I just don't see it happening. I'm a little bit worried about the layoff for Chris Weidman, but from everything that I hear, his knees are fine. And you know what else is fine? The fact that Chael Sonnen is done with the UFC and Fox. But the only thing more laughable than Chael Sonnen's so-called fighting career is the fact that the UFC comes out and says that this is the most difficult decision that we ever had to make. You didn't make the decision. Fox made the decision out of a complete embarrassment because Chael Sonnen has more drugs in his system than Courtney freaking Love. I think we found out right now what the UFC's drug policy actually is. Don't get caught, and if you do, it's sort of like being in the CIA. We don't know anything about it. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. Let's welcome in not one of the best numbers guys in the business, but the best numbers guys in the business. And his book, Fightnomics, is an absolutely positively must-read for all you diehard MMA fans, whether you're into the actual technical aspect of MMA and how fighters are winning fights, or whether you're actually betting money on these fights. And Reed's all over the place right now, including writing on ESPN.com. The one and only Reed Kuhn returns to the program. Reed, it's been a couple of months. Great to have you back. Thanks a lot for taking the time to be with us.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me. It's been an interesting couple months. I had to move across the country, but I'm back into the swing of things.
Well, you know, I'm not feeling sorry for you because I know you moved to California, and there's nothing wrong with that. And secondly, congratulations to you and the missus. I know you just recently had a newborn as well, so congratulations for that too, man.
Thank you.
So, Reed, it's been a little while, but it's going to be just like old times. Let's dive in here. We got UFC 175, and you know, there's been a whole slew of cards recently, but not a lot of so-called water cooler fights or sports bar fights where guys are actually, hey, I want to see what happens in this fight, as opposed to, yeah, there's another card on TV, whatever. I don't know who half these guys actually are. We have the return of Chris Weidman to the octagon, defending champion Chris Weidman, and Lyoto Machida trying to become just the third guy in UFC history to win championships in two different weight classes. Machida is but a plus 160 underdog right now. Weidman about a $1.90 favorite, Reed. And what's interesting here, and I'm pretty in tune with the betting market, it seems like there's a lot of talk and some money coming in on the Dragon in this fight in Machida. What's your take on this matchup?
Well, I actually think this is a more compelling matchup than Weidman's last fight against Anderson Silva. And he was an underdog in that fight, and I thought there was no way it was going to end any other way than with him winning. But this matchup against Machida, this is a totally different ballgame. Some of the weaknesses that Silva was starting to show, Machida does not have. And when the line was released, it actually leapt up early on to almost minus 300, 3-1 for Weidman. And then I think some sharper money came in on Machida and pushed it back down to a reasonable level, which I think is fine. I do see this as a more even matchup than Weidman's last fight. And so Machida is extremely dangerous. He's very well-rounded. So this is going to come down to kind of a chess match on the feet. Weidman is he's going to be outclassed a little bit, but he's going to hope that he has enough power, and Machida is now 36 years old, that Weidman can close the distance. The threat of the takedowns may cause Machida to be a little bit more hesitant. But I'm very intrigued by this matchup. You're right, calling this a water cooler fight. This one is very compelling. It could go either way. The odds have been bouncing around quite a bit, which kind of seems to be the theme for this card. So it's going to be a doozy. I'm definitely looking forward to this one.
Now, there's been a lot of talk about Chris Weidman's knees, and that's why they had to postpone the fight here. It got pushed back. And right before I spoke to you, about 25 minutes ago, Reed, I actually texted someone that's extremely close to Chris Weidman and the camp. They're in the camp. And they responded, this is a really tough fight. And even Weidman's people understand how tough this is coming in here. And they said the knees are fine. It was just a flush job. Any talk about physically he's ready to go, but stylistically the matchup now. As you mentioned with Anderson Silva, Silva's 39 years old. Silva's never had the best takedown defense. Silva spent a lot of time on his back over the years. Even when he was dominant, he had been taken down. Machida is one of the most difficult guys to take down. I see it about an 81%, if my numbers are accurate here, Reed, as far as the takedown defense rate. But Machida, and Machida is just so hard to get, a glove on with the angles. He's hard to take down, so I understand why people think it's kind of tough stylistically for Weidman, but I got faith in Weidman that he will be able to take Machida down. What do your numbers and your analytics tell you about the Weidman trying to take Machida matchup down?
Well, you're right. Machida does have very good takedown defense. It is north of 80%, which is nearly twice the UFC average for takedown defense. But on the flip side, Weidman has been very aggressive. He attempts takedowns pretty frequently while he's on his feet, very frequently, actually, I think only surpassed by Ronda Rousey on this particular card. And his takedown success rate is very high. It's 68%. So again, he's well above average. Machida is well above average. But Phil Davis was able to put Machida down, and those takedowns were extremely valuable in winning rounds in an otherwise very hesitant fight. This could look a lot like that. There could be a lot of hesitation. Machida does have to respect the power of Weidman, even though I think technically Machida is a little bit more skilled, more accurate. But he's going to be worried about those takedowns. And even if it doesn't land, it means he has to work to defend, and it means he's worried about it. He's lowering the hands a little bit. Weidman will eventually get this to the mat. It's not a matter of if, but when. He does have 5 rounds. And on a round-to-round basis, a single takedown can be very, very important. That was the lesson we learned in the Phil Davis fight. So Weidman does have that in his back pocket. Not only is he very good on offense, he's actually never been put on his back. We've talked about champions before, like John Jones, never been taken down. Eventually it'll happen, but great takedown defense is a solid factor for most champions, and Chris Weidman has that. He's never been taken down. So if it ends up on the ground, chances are it's going to be Weidman on top.